Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Over the last week, I've made a few videos on the deschooling process, and today I'm going to be sharing just one more video about deschooling, because I've noticed that in the homeschooling community, of all the buzzwords that you hear, deschooling and unschooling are the two words that really do tend to get confused the most often. And it really does make sense, because deschooling and unschooling to an outsider really can look a lot alike. So today I'm going to explain to you what the difference is between the two, because the difference is really important. But before we actually get into the differences, I'm just going to point out the similarities, because this is why so many people tend to get confused about the two. Deschooling and unschooling, by design, are both intended to be as much unlike traditional school as possible. Think of them as the antithesis to the public school mindset. Rather than using textbooks and lectures and standardized tests and report cards and everything that is typically associated with education, unschooling and deschooling removes itself completely from all of those methods and really embraces the natural learning that can happen in everyday life. So when you see a child deschooling or unschooling, they could be doing anything from reading, playing a musical instrument, watching TV, gaming, painting, doing some other sort of craft, playing outside, going for walks, playing in the creek, digging in the mud, and sometimes you might see them doing absolutely nothing, which I want to point out to you that what looks like nothing really is not nothing, because I don't think there's a time in a child's head where the wheels are not turning. So it might look on the outside like they've just been petting the cat for the last 30 minutes, but trust me, there's something going on in there, so that is not nothing. So to somebody who is still really engaged in the whole compulsory schooling mindset of how things are supposed to look in learning, seeing a child doing things like that all day long, it might not look like learning to them at all, and they might think that is a waste of time and that's not education. But to those parents who have had a proper amount of time to deschool, or to those parents who have been living the unschooling lifestyle, they really can see the value in all of those activities, because yes, each of those activities does hold value, and it is a learning experience. And I'm even going to say that, this is my opinion, but I do know that there are actually a lot of experts, for example, Peter Gray, he's a psychologist, and he believes the same thing, that the way that schools teach children today is not suited for the way that kids actually learn. Kids are curious by nature. They are natural born scientists. Anyone who has ever had any contact with children will see that they are constantly exploring, constantly trying to figure out how things work, why things do the things they do. And it's just amazing. Even toddlers, it's just amazing to watch all the things that they come up with and that they can actually figure out without having any sort of intervention from adults. So when you're deschooling and unschooling, it really does help you to recognize how important that learning is. And I think it's really important to remember that children who have this time to go about exploring have more time to explore their interests. And when you think about it, the reason that I think a lot of us don't retain what we've learned in school is because we weren't interested in it. I mean, yeah, I did good in school, I graduated in the top 10% of my class, and I thought that school was fun. But I thought school was fun more because of the other activities that I did in school, like drama and gymnastics and those sorts of things. So when I look back on it, I don't remember a whole lot about what I learned in school, despite the fact that I did really well. I got good grades. My teachers all liked me. I don't remember much. And of course, I remember how to read. I remember how to do math. I remember those sorts of things. But other than that, the only things that I really remember from school are those things that I wanted to take, those classes that I got to choose because I actually had a desire to learn about them. For example, Greek mythology. And I really enjoyed my parenting class, which, go figure, I have 11 kids, so of course I was going to like that class. Home economics, cooking. I loved those classes. And that's what I remember. And that is really why so many people have embraced the unschooling philosophy. And it's really why deschooling is such a fantastic way to start out on your homeschooling journey. Because if you start out on your homeschooling journey still gripping tightly to the way that schools do things, your kids and you are both going to think, why are we bothering with homeschooling when we're doing the exact same thing at home that they'd be doing if they were in school? You're not embracing the flexibility that comes with it. So that is where unschooling and deschooling are alike. Now I'm going to get into the difference between the two, which is really important. Deschooling is a process. It is for a limited amount of time. It depends on the family. Some families will do it for weeks, some will do it for months, but it is a limited amount of time that families will spend to get used to learning outside, of that box. So people who are deschooling, they haven't actually chosen this as a method, okay? Because deschooling is not a homeschooling method. It is just something that you do to get yourself used to learning in a way that does not look like how most people recognize it. So it helps you to recognize that there is learning everywhere in the world around you, and it really helps you to just kind of let go of all of that indoctrination that we've grown up with. Because, even if you haven't gone to college, you've still probably spent at least 13 years in school, 13 years of your lives. So, of course, you're not going to understand that learning can look so many different ways. So, deschooling is a process that really helps parents to let go of that, and that way they can then choose which method they're going to use to homeschool their kids. So it only goes on for a short amount of time, and then they transition into whatever homeschooling method they've chosen. Sometimes that method might be unschooling, and I have to tell you, if they do, that is a seamless transition, because really the sorts of things that kids do while unschooling are the same sorts of things that they were doing while they were deschooling. And some parents really do enjoy that so much that they decide to embrace the unschooling method, and that's where we get to the difference. So we've got deschooling, which is a process. Unschooling is a homeschooling method. Just like school at home, unit studies, eclectic, Charlotte Mason, classical, Waldorf, Montessori, all these different areas that you can choose from to homeschool, unschooling fits into that category. Unschooling is actually a method that is chosen. So whereas deschooling is just a limited amount of time, unschooling is a lifestyle. It is what the family has decided to use as their approach to the education for their children. So it's not something that's meant to be just a transition into their homeschooling lives. Unschooling is their homeschooling lives. So that is really the difference between the two. So just think of it that way. Deschooling is short-term, unschooling is long-term. Deschooling is a process, unschooling is a method. So if you have any other questions about deschooling and unschooling, since I've made so many videos over the last week on deschooling, this will be the last one so far that I've thought of. This will be the last one that I'll be doing on deschooling for a while. But if you have any other questions about deschooling, if you have any questions about unschooling, because we did do that for about 2 years, just leave a comment and I will get back to you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love if you would do that. I hope you have a great day.